Welcome into Palmetto Sports Daily. Ella Grogan here in Greenville, joined by Rick Henry, Teagan Brown, and Kevin Bilodeau. And we are kicking off, starting to talk about a little something crazy. Heading over to Charlotte to start. The Hornets have been on an unbelievable win streak, and they had a big one against the Pistons. Things were looking great. The first half was fun. We had a crazy half-court haul to end the first half. And then that's when things got wild, was in the third quarter. So let's break it down. I wish I could show you the video of this right now, but it was insane. Some words were said between Moussa Diabate from Charlotte with Jalen Duren, and that is when all things got crazy. 4 players getting ejected from this one. From Charlotte, that was Diabate and Miles Bridge, and from Detroit, Duren and Isaiah Stewart. But that's not where the craziness ended. Later in the fourth quarter, the Hornets coach was also ejected, standing up for one of his players after what he thought was a crazy foul called. He was fighting for him, standing up for him. I liked it personally. You gotta love to see that competitive nature. But let's have a look and a hear at what he had to say about the moment and how it all came together and how that all happened.
Just looked like, a ton of physicality, and 2 guys kind of got in a heated conversation, and then it kind of spiraled from there.
For you to get ejected, what was the reason for that?
Yeah, I take ownership of it. I thought that we were competing our tails off. I thought that it was a very physical game, and Grant's walking down the paint and barely touched somebody, and the guy fell over, and that's what we're going to call a foul. So, again, they have a hard job to have to make these calls, but I don't think that was like the consistency of what had been called the rest of the game.
5 ejections in one half alone. You don't see that every day. I kind of just want to toss it around to you guys. I mean, what did you think about that? For a coach to get involved, I personally kind of love to see that competitive nature come out of coaches sometimes, but obviously you don't want to lose your coach with 5 minutes left still in the game. Teagan?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a tough point to lose him to being ejected. I think, a lot of emotions were high there. At the end of the day, it's just high emotions. That's all it's going to be. But, yeah, definitely sad to see their coach ejected in those last 5 minutes, Rick.
Well, of course, I don't condone violence, and also want to be totally transparent here. I'm a former Hornets season ticket holder, and as a matter of fact, I loved it. I love to see the Hornets stand up and fight, basically. Fight as competitors. And if somebody is going to test you, get up all in your face, especially on your court, you can't put up with that. So you've got to fight fire with fire. And I remember covering the original Charlotte Hornets back in the 90s when they were really good. And I saw dust-ups with the Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks. And it's when the game was more physical. I like to see that physicality, but of course, you don't want to get kicked out because that hurts your team. But you got to, as we like to say, don't start none, won't be none.
Yeah, unlike Rick, I do condone violence, and especially in this situation, because to me, this is this Hornets team setting a tone for going forward. Because this is a team they could face the Pistons in that first round of the playoffs, and they're letting them know, we were putting together this 9-game win streak. This, they've been looked at as this cute team, and Lonzo Ball and Con Knipple, and the little Hornets are just putting a few wins together, and that's so great for them. They want to make sure that these teams know that they're going to be a team to be reckoned with once the playoffs come, and you can't just roll over them just because they're a young team and they've got a couple of nice pieces. They want these other teams to know. And the Pistons, the way things are setting up right now, this could be a team that if the Hornets win in the play-in game and they advance to that first round of the playoffs, it's a team they could be matched up with. So, good for them for not taking any gruff from Detroit and not letting them get rolled over, especially on their home court.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a sting, if you will. Got to put that one in there. For that to happen, they were on a huge win streak, longest one since 1989. If they would have won that game, that would have been their longest streak, I believe, in history of the Hornets organization. So obviously, like Teagan said, a lot of emotion riding on this one, and you're going to get a little physical. And also, Kevin, like you mentioned, you're kind of setting your ground. You're giving yourself some street cred, if you will, if you're seeing these guys again. So.
Yeah, and I think that's important for them, especially, they're going to play again on April 10th. Thanks a lot for that, producer Nick. And again, if these things match up and they're going to meet these guys in the playoffs, even if they don't meet Detroit, whether it's New York or Boston or these other teams that, bring in tough teams and they're not going to roll over. So the Hornets need to show that they're not going to do it either. And, we've talked before, I really like the pieces this Hornets team has put together so far, especially Knipple. I think if not for Cooper Flagg, he would be the runaway rookie of the year in the NBA. Lonzo Ball, if he stays healthy, he's setting himself up to have probably his best season as a pro. And Bridges and Miller are two guys that, I don't think they're going to be superstars in this league, but they're complementary pieces, and they're guys that can be the third or the fourth best player on a championship team going forward. So I think they've got the pieces. This might be the next step. Of course, you'd like to have that win streak continue, but maybe this is a little bit more important than the win streak, and maybe this is showing other teams in the league what these guys can do going forward the rest of this season. We're just getting started here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. The first weekend of softball is officially in the books. Coastal Carolina 2-3 on the year after 2 wins over Akron and then 2 losses to Virginia and a loss to number 8 Arkansas. It was a really challenging opening weekend for the Chants. It's the Kickin' Chicken Classic, as it's called. But Coastal Carolina just really struggling against specifically number 8 Arkansas. And then the Virginia loss a little bit closer. One of them was 5-1. The other was, if I can scroll and find it, 10-2. So Coastal softball 2-3 on the year. They have another challenge coming up tomorrow. They're getting ready to play UNC. And this was a really strong team last year. They made it to the Durham Regional, and they only lost a couple of pieces this year from their roster. So I think they still have time to grow. Maybe it was just some opening week nerves against Virginia, but just a little bit of a struggle for the Chants as they get ready to take on UNC. Kevin, I know that College of Charleston had a very successful weekend of softball. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a crazy first weekend for the Cougars over at Patriots Point, breaking in a new head coach in Maggie Moroka, who is the youngest Division I head coach in the entire country for D1 softball. So that in itself was really cool. The Cougars would lose their first game to Marist, I believe, in extra innings. After that, they would come back, win the next 4 games, all on walk-off hits over the course of the rest of the weekend. The crazy thing is, 3 of those, the next 3 after that first loss, they got a win over George Mason, Siena, and St. John's, all coming from walk-off hits by the same person. That was sophomore catcher Lita Langston. I got a chance to catch up with her yesterday. She told me before that first game on Friday where she had the walk-off hit, she had never had a walk-off in her entire career.
I've actually never hit a walk-off in my entire life before this weekend, and then, I got the opportunity 3 times in a row, which is something I could only dream of, and yeah, I felt no pressure.
I think it was just looking at the situation and knowing that part in our lineup too was up. I looked over at Audrey Bates was on deck, and we looked at Leila going up to the plate, and we were like, okay, Audrey, you can put your stuff down. It's no need to go up there. So we felt super confident.
I said to Coach Moroka, it's a fun way to have your first weekend here, getting 4 walk-off wins. She just kind of rolled her eyes at me. She goes, I don't know if fun is the word I'd use. She said memorable is definitely one, but I don't know how much fun it was until they were walking off each night. So a 4-1 start for the college. Great job. They're going to be back in action, I believe, tomorrow afternoon when they take on Akron. Now, college baseball is set to kick off this Friday afternoon for all the teams around the state, including over in Clemson. Ella?
Yeah, big weekend for Clemson. They are actually hosting Army, and very amazing traditions over at Clemson with their military pride. Eric Bakich has shared how much the military tradition has meant to him and his family, and you see that all around Clemson all the time. So they're very thrilled to be hosting them this weekend. But that wasn't the only topic of conversation at Media Days today, or whatever you want to call it, media availability today, where our sports reporter Caroline Soro got the chance to talk to Eric Bakich, and he had something really interesting to say about pushing back the season. So we've now had 2 Clemson coaches take some stances on some matters in 1 month. And so Eric Bakich had something to say about the time and the start of baseball. And here's what he said. It's all about money.
let's not kid ourselves. It's not about weather. Nobody cares about competitive equity. That is not the needle mover to push the season back. It's 100% about money. And so when you look at how it improves everybody's bottom lines, the northern teams don't have to get on commercial airlines and travel as much early in the year. That's a big savings when the average spend for those trips is $50,000+ per weekend. And then the warm weather schools, the SEC and the ACC, they average playing over half their games, their home games. They average over half their home games in February and March, but their actual attendance is better in April and May. So it just doesn't make sense that when our actual attendance, when people are actually showing up and the revenue streams that are associated with that, like alcohol sales and concessions and merch and actual butts in the stands, is better when we're playing less home games, but we're stuffing all our home games in February and March. Like and I looked at us this year. This year we have 20 home games in February and March and 10 home games in April and May.
I completely don't disagree with him here. You want to get more people in the seats, more butts in the seats, like he said. But Kevin, what do you think about this idea of moving back the schedule and giving the opportunity to see a little bit more baseball with the lap with basketball? You want to let it breathe a little bit. We have a lot of rollover period that we don't often get to give all of our attention to one sport.
We do, and these next 3 weeks are among the busiest we have as reporters here in South Carolina, for the entire year. So really looking forward to that. And Bakich would know what he's talking about. Of course, he was a coach at Michigan before coming to Clemson, so he knows about these trips south they have to take. All the northeastern teams and all the northern teams have to make early on in the season. I'm not sure what the solution is, though. Does he want to keep having college baseball just pushed back by another month and have the College World Series being played in Omaha in July? Because I'm not sure that's much of a better solution either. Maybe you're just playing less games. I don't think that's going to go over, because then you're talking about pulling in less money anyway. So I get where he's coming from, especially here, in South Carolina, here in the Low Country with Charleston Southern and the Citadel and College of Charleston. This first month of the season, pretty much all we see is northern teams coming down and wanting to get away from the snow and have a chance to play as many games as they can here in the Southeast. So we see a ton of those. But Rick, I don't know what the solution is that Bakich wants to go with going forward.
Hey, I support the move 110% because I don't like going out to these early season baseball games. You're all bundled up. You need some gloves, maybe a toboggan. That's not fun, and that's not baseball as far as I'm concerned. So I'm all in favor of pushing it back, and I know the northern teams have to like it, because in order for them to play baseball that early in the season, they have to come south, where you come down to the south. Hey, the southern teams, they've been practicing outdoors. They're playing at home. And the northern teams, let's face it, most of them come down here and take a bunch of L's before going back home. And anyway, if you make it to the championship round of the College World Series, you're flirting with the 1st of July to begin with. And they're definitely not going to trim down the number of games, because that's messing with the money as well. But moving it back has my support.
Yeah, but Rick, you're still talking. Yeah. If you're bringing these Northeast teams down in March, it's still snowing up there in a lot of these Northeast cities, especially in New England. I don't know how a month is going to help that all that much, Teagan.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's the thing that sticks out most to me with a positive, if it were to be moved back, would just be the fact that fans wouldn't necessarily have to choose between, for instance, here at Coastal, going to Coastal basketball game or going to Coastal baseball. And even though sometimes they're scheduled where basketball is right before, it's a long day. Like, as much as people love sports, are they going to go sit through an entire basketball game and then sit through 9 innings of baseball? I don't know. I can definitely see the move with moving it a month, but yeah, definitely a tough situation. I don't know exactly what Bakich wants out of it. But Coastal Carolina baseball getting ready to open their season on Friday against Fairfield, and they've gotten some more preseason accolades this morning or earlier today. The National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association Stopper of the Year preseason watch list, very long name for that, came out. And it includes 3 Coastal players, Dominic Carbone, Darren Horn, and Ryan Lynch. This honor basically goes to the best relief pitcher in the country. So the Chants do have a really strong bullpen this year. They've got Matt Williams, the pitching coach, who came on last year for his very first year under then first-year head coach Kevin Schnall. And the guys have really had nothing but positive things to say about Williams and how much he has just improved how they feel on the mound, how they feel off the diamond, just the prep and the consistency that should go into their routines when it comes to getting ready to play baseball or even just their day-to-day lives. So, strong bullpen for Coastal this year, looking to do some good stuff after going to Omaha last year, being the national runner-up. They play Fairfield on Friday. It's Friday the 13th. Hopefully that doesn't bring any bad vibes or anything. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited for baseball season. We'll be out there. We're going to take a quick break, though, and we'll be right back on the other side.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We move over to college basketball, and it was a big one for the College of Charleston on Monday night with first place in the CAA on the line as they were playing host to their biggest conference rivals from UNC Wilmington. And once again for the College, Wilmington appears to be their kryptonite as the Seahawks go into TD Arena and come away with a victory over CFC last night. 76-64 was the final on that one. The College had won 12 out of 14 coming into this game last night, but UNC Wilmington took the lead early on. They got a big run. Went up 17-7 in that first half. CFC didn't get it any closer than 4 towards the end of that first half, but the Seahawks had another big run. They were up by 10 at the break, and the College just kind of back and forth throughout that second half, never really had that big run that they needed to, and end up losing to UNC Wilmington. Chris Mack, since he's become the head coach at the College of Charleston, he is now 0-4 against UNC Wilmington. He talked about this loss after the game.
Give Wilmington all the credit in the world. They were the much better team tonight. As disappointing as that is to say, but that was reality. And I thought from the very beginning, they asserted themselves the way a championship team does, and that was a poor effort on our part.
Now, the interesting thing to me was this is really the first time, and CFC still having a good season. They're 16-9 overall, 9-3 in the CAA. But after that loss last night, this was really the first time I've seen the CFC fan base start to turn on Chris Mack a little bit. Like I said, he's 0-4 against UNC Wilmington. As I said, that is their biggest conference rival. They lost in the CAA tournament to Wilmington last year, lost both home and away against them last year, and now losing again at home at the TD Arena last night. So I don't think Chris Mack is on the hot seat by any means, but I can tell the fan base is getting a little fed up of losing to UNC Wilmington over and over again. Rick, the South Carolina women, they keep rolling along as well.
Yeah, they're coming off a big win Sunday over Tennessee, 43 points, 93-50. And South Carolina continuing to win, even though they continue to be banged up all season long. Sunday, they got Tanaya Latson back in the lineup. She missed 2 games, but she was wearing a leg brace. But Maddie McDaniel, she was on the bench wearing a boot on her left foot, I believe. And also you have Got McKeer. She's still out with an injury. Chloe Kitts out all season long. They've only had 10 games this year where they've had every player that is available, they were able to play. Just 10 games. Here's how Don Staley says she handles it. It's like, hey, next woman up.
We actually, quite frankly, we consider them dead. We do. Like, it's not part of the game plan. They're unhealthy. So we just go with who is available. And that's the mentality that we need to have, because we don't need the, salt on who's not here and what could happen. We just, whoever's available, it is the next woman up, and that's the way we practice. If we got 8, if we got 9, that's the way we practice.
Yeah, if you're not able to practice, if you're not able to make the team, coach said, hey, we just consider them dead. They're no use to us. That's a little bit harsh, but I understand what she means. And They've got a tough game this weekend. They travel to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. That's going to wrap it up for this segment of Palmetto Sports Daily. After a quick timeout, we'll be back with more sports talk from around the state. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. The HBC, Steve Spurrier, will be in Columbia during the month of May to receive a big honor. He's been elected to the South Carolina State Athletic Hall of Fame. The 10-member class will be inducted May 18th at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. Here's Coach Spurrier talking about some of his best memories of his time here with the Gamecocks.
Football, we came a long way. It was interesting, the opportunity to have so many first in South Carolina football history, win 11 games, beat Clemson 5 in a row, and finish in the top 10. All those firsts was really a thrill for me and my wife Jerry and I and son Steve and Scotty. We thoroughly enjoyed our years there.
Yeah, the high point for the Coach Spurrier era, 2011 through 2013, back-to-back 11-2 seasons. Yeah, so quite a legacy there with the Gamecocks, and it'll be great to see him going into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and Spurrier had some words for Dabo as well, talking about how he's got to get used to everyone cheating, didn't he, Rick? Something along those lines.
Basically, that's what he said. You know, basically, Dabo just has to realize that there are no rules. Everybody's breaking the rules. So, hey, you just have to man up and do your best job. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for Palmetto Sports Daily. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.